the building of the Great Wall of China. It stretches for thousands of miles, winding like a stone dragon across mountains, deserts, and valleys. For centuries, it has stood as a testament to human determination, ingenuity, and sacrifice. But what drove an ancient civilization to build the largest man-made structure on Earth? This is not just a story of bricks and mortar. It's a tale of fear and ambition, of countless lives lost, and of an empire's desperate gamble to protect itself from the outside world. To understand the Great Wall, we must first journey back to China before it was China, to the 7th century BCE, when the land was fractured into warring states, each fighting for dominance. War was constant. Survival depended on protection. And so the earliest defensive walls began to appear. Not one great wall, but many smaller ones built by separate kingdoms. Historian Li. Hello, I'm Professor Li Wei. What many people don't realize is that the Great Wall wasn't built all at once. It began as a series of independent fortifications. The state of Chu built walls to defend against Qi. Qi built walls against Yan. It was a patchwork of defenses, each serving local interests. Then came a leader whose ambition would change everything. In 221 BCE, King Zheng of Qin defeated the last of his rivals to become Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China. Historian Lai. The first emperor was ruthlessly efficient. After unifying China through conquest, he standardized weights, measures, currency, and even the written language. But his greatest challenge lay to the north. Beyond China's northern frontier roamed the Xiongnu, nomadic warriors who regularly raided Chinese settlements. Fast, fierce, and mobile, they would strike without warning and vanish back into the steppes. Historian Li. The Xiongnu were feared not just for their brutality, but for their mobility. They were among history's first true cavalry forces, spending their lives on horseback. The settled Chinese couldn't match their speed or their knowledge of the harsh northern terrain. Qin Shi Huang's solution was as simple as it was ambitious: connect and strengthen the existing walls in the north to create one continuous barrier. But the scale of this project was unprecedented. The emperor mobilized a workforce of over 300,000 soldiers, convicts, and conscripted peasants. Some historical sources suggest the number may have reached as high as 800,000. Historian Li. The workers had no modern machinery, no power tools, just simple iron tools, ropes, baskets, and raw human strength. The materials used were whatever was locally available: earth and stones in the mountains, reeds and gravel in marshy areas. The human cost was staggering. Laborers worked through scorching summers and bitter winters. Disease, exhaustion, and accidents claimed countless lives. Chinese folklore says that each stone cost a human life. Historian Lai. We have records from imperial officials reporting death tolls in the tens of thousands. The wall became known by a terrible nickname: the longest cemetery on Earth. When the first emperor died in 210 BCE, his dynasty quickly collapsed. The Great Wall, that massive project that had consumed so many lives, was largely abandoned. Much of what had been built eroded away over the coming centuries. The Han Dynasty that followed initially tried a different approach with the Xiongnu: diplomacy, trade, and strategic marriages. But when these strategies failed, they too returned to wall building, extending the fortifications further west. The pattern would repeat throughout Chinese history. Dynasties would rise, the threat from the north would persist, and the wall would be expanded or rebuilt. But no dynasty invested more in the wall than the Ming. When we picture the Great Wall today, what we're seeing is primarily the work of the Ming Dynasty, 1368–1644 CE. After driving out the Mongol Yuan dynasty that had conquered China, the Ming were determined to prevent such an invasion from ever happening again. Historian Li. The Ming Wall was a remarkable feat of engineering. Unlike earlier earthen ramparts, this was a fully stone and brick structure with watchtowers, barracks, and sophisticated signal systems. The Ming engineers built with incredible precision. The stone foundation was laid deep, with massive bricks mortared together with a mix of lime and sticky rice, a mixture so strong that in many places it holds firm to this day. Historian Li. The wall wasn't just a barrier, it was an early warning system. Beacon towers were positioned within sight of each other. When danger was spotted, guards would light fires or raise flags to send messages quickly along the wall's length. At its height, over 1 million soldiers were stationed along the wall, a massive commitment of manpower for the Ming Empire. For the soldiers who manned the wall, life was harsh and isolated. Stationed in remote garrisons far from civilization, they endured extreme weather and the constant threat of attack. Historian Lai archaeological evidence gives us insights into daily life on the wall. Soldiers played board games to pass time, wrote poetry about their loneliness, and left graffiti that can still be seen today. Supply lines stretched for hundreds of miles. Getting food, weapons, and reinforcements to the frontier was a logistical challenge that never ceased. Historian Li: the wall generated its own culture, songs, stories, and sayings. One popular Ming Dynasty song went, "Husband builds the Great Wall away from home. Wife and children don't know if he's alive or dead." The ultimate irony of the Great Wall is that despite its imposing presence, it ultimately failed in its primary purpose. In 1644, Manchu forces from the north breached the wall, not by scaling it, but by entering through a gate opened by a Chinese general who was hoping to use the Manchu army in an internal Chinese power struggle. Historian Lai: the Ming Dynasty fell, replaced by the Qing Dynasty established by these very invaders from the north. The Great Wall, that massive investment in national defense, had failed in its most critical moment. After the Manchu conquest, the wall lost its military significance. For nearly 3 centuries, it was largely forgotten, left to crumble back into the earth from which it came. It wasn't until the late 19th and early 20th centuries that the wall began to capture global imagination. Western visitors brought back tales of this massive structure, often exaggerating its age and features. Historian Lai: the Great Wall became a symbol of China itself, ancient, enduring, and impressive. When President Richard Nixon visited China in 1972, opening relations between the US and Communist China, his highly publicized visit to the Great Wall marked a turning point in how the world saw this structure. Today, the Great Wall is China's most iconic symbol and a major tourist destination. But of the estimated 13,000 miles of wall built throughout Chinese history, only about 8.2% remains in good condition. The rest has been damaged by weather, human activity, or simply abandoned. You've probably heard that the Great Wall is visible from space, or even from the moon. This is actually a myth. The wall is too narrow to be seen by the naked eye from orbit, much less from the moon. Historian Lai: there are many misconceptions about the wall. It wasn't one continuous structure. There were gaps where natural barriers like mountains or rivers provided sufficient defense. And contrary to popular belief, the bodies of dead workers were not buried within the wall itself. Modern archaeology continues to reveal new insights. In 2012, surveys found that the Ming Dynasty walls stretched for 5,500 miles, over 1,000 miles longer than previously thought. The Great Wall of China stands as a monument to both the extraordinary heights of human achievement and the sometimes terrible costs of those achievements. Built by emperors obsessed with security, it embodies a timeless human impulse, the desire to protect what's ours from outside threats. Historian Li said, "What makes the Great Wall truly remarkable isn't just its size or age, but what it represents, the story of a civilization so determined to protect itself that it devoted centuries to building a barrier on a scale never seen before or since." As we face our own modern questions about borders, security, and the lengths we'll go to for protection, the Great Wall reminds us that these challenges are as old as civilization itself. This has been the building of the Great Wall of China.